All right, y'all. I have Steppin with Marcus J is live. We in the building. We about to have a great show as we do every single week. I say the same thing in my entrance every single week because it is kind of true. We're going to grow. We're going to build. We're going to have a great show. We're going to lead off the show talking about religion. That's right. We ain't half stepping or ain't no half stepping with Marcus J. So we got a question that we're going to ask about religion. We're talking about the police officers that were shot in Mississippi, the principal in Georgia who made some controversial statements, and the First Lady of the United States of America. We're going to have some commentary on her speech this weekend. We got a lot to get to. We got our special guest that's here, and SY that will join us later on. Ain't no hashtag Mark says right now.
Open your ears, strap on your thinking cap. Socially conscious talk that's entertaining with a dash of humor and the top sports stories of the week. It's time for Ain't No Half Steppin' with Marcus J.
Sellers has Jordan. Jordan with 2 seconds to go. Puts it up and scores at the buzzer. Michael Jordan has won it for Chicago. Manning lobs it. Burris alone. Touchdown, New York.
Down goes Frazier. Down goes Frazier. Down goes Frazier. He hits one deep to right center. That ball is out of here. The Yankees win the pennant.
If they lying, then they must be half stepping. Ain't no half step. Marks J's live, y'all. We in the building. Be down with us tonight at 804-402-2893 to be a part of the flagship show right here live from the Den of Legacy Internet Radio. We appreciate everybody that's checking us out. Thank you to everybody who has hit up our website, www.legacyinternetradio.com. Thank you to the folks that are listening to us currently on TuneIn. You pulled up TuneIn and you have hit up Legacy Internet Radio and you searched it and you found us there, and we appreciate you. Thank you to everyone who are listening to our replays right now on YouTube. It is because of you guys that we continue to be the fastest growing internet radio station in the Central Virginia area as well as beyond. Legacy Internet Radio, hashtag it and share it, let everybody know. Check out our Facebook page, Ain't No Half Step on Marcus J. And of course, I got all the plugs and everything. We're sponsored by Live Action Captions as well as Free Spirit Enterprises. So we thank you for patronizing our sponsors and checking us out here on Legacy Internet Radio. 804-402-2893 is the number to dial to be a part of the discussion tonight. I'm very happy and very proud to bring you guys the show. At this time, I want to introduce my special co-host for the night. You hear her every single second Monday of the month. You got my sister sitting across the table from me. We got Miss Tony sitting here. What's up, girl?
How you doing?
We doing fabulous in here today. You doing all right?
Yeah, I am. It was a good Monday.
Was it a good Monday?
It was a very good Monday.
Did you be mean to anybody?
No.
Nobody?
A little condescending, but not mean.
Condescending. Okay, condescending is good. We could work with that. So, did the person say something stupid that led you to be condescending to them, or was it just inside of you and you picked on them?
No, it was one of those things where people try to get you to say what they want to hear, and I already told you the way it's gonna be. So
anytime a black woman says, "I done already told you,"
I done already told you.
I done already told you.
I did done.
But you done already told them.
Yes.
And they weren't hearing it.
No,
And
but
you
she
had
heard
to
me after I.
But you had to repeat yourself.
Yes.
It's never good.
It's not.
No.
She didn't say it again. She didn't suggest again. How about that?
She left it alone because she already knew. She done felt the wrath of Miss Tony up in this joint. Ain't no hashtag Marcus J. You ready to get into the show tonight? You ready to wild out and offend people and befriend people and have people love us and hate us all at the same time?
Always.
Because we don't be half stepping.
No, we don't.
All right.
Not you.
Nah, not up in this joint. All right. Ain't no half stepping, Marcus J. I led off the show by mentioning that we were going to talk about something here with regards to religion. And I got a question that I'm going to ask Tony here after we bring up the story here. But getting this one from rawstory.com, which is fastly becoming one of my favorite websites. It's about an atheist mom. She's an atheist, and she has been getting death threats over school Bible complaints. But ironically, the Christians are complaining that they are, in fact, the victims. So Oklahoma mom, she plans to move after she's receiving these threats from other parents because her complaints ended a public school Bible giveaway. The woman contacted the American Humanist Association last month after her son told his third grade teacher surprised students at Woodrow Wilson Elementary School by handing out Bibles in class. The boy said teacher Erica Mackey placed the Bibles on her desk and felt pressured to walk up and take one after most of his classmates did. His mother, only identified as Leah, contacted the atheist organization's legal representatives who notified Duncan Public Schools that the passive distribution violated the separation of church and state. A Satanic Temple chapter asked permission to distribute materials, and the school district said it would end Bible handouts for elementary students. Leah told the Atheist Analysis blog that her children had faced bullying over their agnostic views since moving to Duncan 6 years ago. Her eldest daughter, who was in high school as a junior when she started school there, was called, quote, a devil-worshipping lesbian transvestite whore because she did not believe in God. Her middle son eventually transferred to an out-of-district school due to bullying over non-religious views. But she said the bullying had increased in intensity after she complained about the Bible distribution. So she decided to place her house on the market and just go ahead and move. Quote, I began to fear for mine and my son's safety when I read run her out of town and snitches end up in ditches. I had the comments in an email, but I have to go through hundreds of comments to find them. I fear for my son when the parents all had their kids carry their Bibles to school one day to prove a point. Kids are mean. I couldn't let my son face that kind of ridicule for not having a Bible, end quote. Of course, Leah has since pulled her kid out of school. He spends his days in a friend's farm homeschooling, but she said the town's Christians portray themselves as the victims. Quote, the town hates me, but I've noticed that Duncan, Oklahoma has one of the worst persecution complexes I've ever seen anywhere, end quote, she said. This is Leah, who is the parent. So a lot to react to there. This is an atheist, Tony, who is feeling some persecution from Christians in town because she, Leah, the atheist, was uncomfortable with the Bible distribution, and the local Christians apparently were not very, as shall we say, Christian-like to her. When you hear a story like this, what are your thoughts?
Two thoughts. Hypocrisy on the part of the Christians, and the other is, of course, the obvious. You know, we have freedom of religion, and religion was removed from schools for this very reason. And I truly believe that, you know, you cannot force your religious beliefs on anyone. And so I totally understand her side of it. You know, I wouldn't want anybody distributing Satanist pamphlets to, you know, the children at school, because I don't believe in Satanism or whatever you call that religion. And then the hypocrisy, you know, as Christians, if someone does not believe, you pray for them. You know, you try to live your life in a way that shows them that, you know, this person is a good person, and maybe this Christian religion might not be such a bad thing. But if they choose not to believe what you believe, you do not persecute them and threaten to kill them or whatever, you know, they're threatening to do to her and her son. Again, that's just straight hypocrisy.
What do you say? Well, let's just kind of set the parameters here for the new listeners that we have. We know we got some new listeners listening to us worldwide. Ain't no half stepping with Marcus J. Tony, how do you identify yourself religiously, if you in fact identify yourself at all?
I am a Baptist Christian.
You're a Christian. Okay. And I identify as a non-Christian, a non-religious person. I am what would be called an agnostic. So, and there are many definitions of it. The way I view agnosticism is someone who absolutely acknowledges that there's a higher power. I just choose not to align myself with a specific religion. So for those folks that are listening to us here tonight, just wanted to kind of set the parameters so you know who you're listening to and what you're dealing with, so you know how to kind of take our comments and understand where we're coming from in our perspectives. But I personally have a hard time with, because I grew up a Christian. And one of the things that led me away from religion as a young person was, one, I just never felt it in my heart, never felt it in my soul. I was not one who subscribed to the idea that Jesus died on the cross for my sins. That just never made sense to me. I could never rationalize in my head how someone that was all-knowing and all-powerful allowed himself to get lynched. I just couldn't, it just didn't work for me. And I've always been one who has been kind of made to feel like, well, now that I'm old, I don't really care what you think. But when I was younger, I was always kind of made to feel like there was something wrong with me for feeling that way. Every single person who's not a Christian person is going to go to hell. Oh, okay, wait a minute. Christianity is about a third of the world. Oh, okay, so 2/3 of the world's going to hell. That don't make no sense. So that's kind of where my thought, probably that's kind of simplifying it, but that's kind of what helped me kind of walk away from it. So when I see a story like this, when I hear about people who are purported to be loving, and, when you talk about Jesus Christ was a man who was about as giving as it got, that doesn't sound very giving to me. How do you rationalize, and I'm not asking you to speak for these people, but I'm sure you've seen these people in your life. How do you rationalize someone who purports to be in a religion like Christianity who would treat another human being in this way? What are your thoughts on that?
It's funny. I was actually having this conversation with some friends last night. Minister Farrakhan was speaking, and one of the people that was present made the comment, they seem to be real good people. They all for the good, and they help each other out, and this and that. And I said, just like with any sort of religious belief or spirituality or religious groups, whatever you want to call it, there's corruption. There's bad people. There's bad people who believe in God. There's bad people who believe in Buddha. You see the overzealous, like people who, unfortunately have brought, the ugly prejudice against Muslims. So I don't think that, just because they're, I guess condemning this woman for her beliefs and the way she's raising her children makes them bad people. Nobody's perfect. And, and anyone who is a real, true Christian knows that, it is not for us to judge, because we all sin. We just sin differently. So, while it is unfortunate that these people happen to be Christians, I don't think that it's indicative of, Christians overall, which a lot of people like to say, Christians are hypocrites and this and that, but we're still people just like everybody else. We're all humans. And at the end of the day, we do humanly things. We have human emotions. And, we, again, in this country, we have the right to believe what we believe in. So
what do you think of Muslims? Do you think Muslims are all terrorists?
Absolutely not.
Do you think that all police are bad?
Absolutely not.
Do you think that all black people sag their pants and are criminals?
Not at all.
And so you're grown up in your thought process.
Right.
You realize that every single person, regardless of the demographic or the religion or the group that they come from, doesn't necessarily have to carry the characteristics of the stereotype.
Correct.
Right now, we know the climate in the black community is to be adverse to police, and that's not something that's new. I mean, they made a song called After Police for a reason, Cop Killer for a reason. We've been talking about this for generations. Malcolm X said some things in the 60s. This ain't new. And so we know that, but we also know that many of us have police officers in our families that live in our neighborhoods and things of that sort. Many of us know a Muslim. that is not looking to get in a plane and fly into a building or blow up some stuff. Many of us know some really cool Christian people who are not looking to disrespect you or hang you from a tree or anything like that. You know, many of us know black people, particularly black men, who take care of their children, who do great things for their families and things like that. So I'm going here because I want to make the point that, you know, these were individuals. These were people who were wrong as individuals. And it's difficult for me to accept that we as people, educated people, logical thinking people, would put everybody in the same basket or painting with the same broad brush. So I think we need to think about that when we hear about this. It's okay to be an atheist. It's absolutely 100%, in my opinion, okay to be an atheist. If you choose not to believe in God, hey, look, knock yourself out, because I think that we are all born with an innate ability to discern the difference between good and bad, and it does not have to be dictated by religion. I think religious people make the mistake of assuming that, but that's not always the case. I think people generally are born to be good people, and you have to learn how to be an asshole, basically.
Yeah,
I mean,
and I mean, and just, you know, when it comes to religion and spirituality in general, you know, to me, it's up to the individual to do their own research and, you know, look into things that, you know, may seem strange to you or maybe doesn't make sense. You know, just like, you know, you had your walk, I had my walk. You know, I grew up in the church, but there was a time in my life where, you know, I lost my mother at a very young age, and I was angry at God. And for a long time, you know, I was just like, that doesn't even make sense. You know, this woman, she was a wonderful person, and she had these children, and now, you know, you've left these babies without their mother, and what are they supposed to do? The rest of the world doesn't care about us. And for a while, I turned away from the church. And it was only through my own experiences and, you know, thankfully, you know, my uncle and my praying family that kind of brought me back into the church. And I didn't just blindly go in and say, okay, I'm back in the church and I love Jesus. You know, it was also a matter of me forming my own relationship with God, because that's what spirituality is about. It's about that relationship. It's not about all these rules that people say that you have to follow or you're going to hell. That's not what it's about. It's about your relationship with God and how you treat people, you know, being an extension of what it is that God is about. God is about love, you know, loving one another, respecting one another, helping one another. And so many people get caught up in these things that you can do or you cannot do it. If you do this, you're going to hell. If you don't do this, you're going to hell. But at the end of the day, you know, you have to know whoever or whatever it is you believe in for yourself. Do your research and be able to stand up for what you believe in. And it's not your responsibility to convince anyone else of your beliefs. You know, you believe what you believe, you live your life, be peaceful and happy, and that's it.
I agree. You know, I step with Marcus J. I think that the problem and the mistake that we make is that we assume that our way is the only way. You know, when you're in Japan, you speak Japanese, and when you're in England, you speak English, and when you're in America, you speak American. I always like that joke, but seriously, I mean, you are, you know, I use that analogy to make the point that religion is a way to speak to the higher power.
Right.
And Christians call it God. I've never been comfortable saying God. That's just me personally. I think that's a Christian word. That's just me personally. Some folks say Allah. Some folks say Jehovah. Some folks say Buddha. I mean, it really does depend. But at the end of the day, it does not matter what you think to others, because the others aren't going to be your judge. And I think that every single religion says that only God can judge you. And so if you get into a position where you're worrying about what other people are doing, I think you're overstepping your bounds. You know how Steppin with Marcus J. live from the Den of Legacy Internet Radio every single Monday night right here, live from the Den, 7 p.m. Thank you to those folks listening to us on TuneIn, as well as those folks that are listening to the replays right here on YouTube. This next thing I want to get to, Tony, I'm kind of keeping with what we just got finished talking about. It's also on rawstory.com. It's an article, and I'm not going to read this whole article because it's long, but I just want to kind of get a couple of quick hits and highlights. It basically alludes to the fact that Americans are turning away from organized religion in record numbers, which I am, I guess, a part of one of those record numbers. In the interest of full disclosure, you and I have been friends for many years. We've had many discussions on religion on the air as well as off the air. And my experience has been with many Christians in the past, when they hear that I'm no longer one, that I get the condescension, or I'm going to pray for you. I feel so bad because you're going to be in hell and I'm not going to see you in the afterlife. I've never, ever gotten that from you. Tell me why I've never, ever gotten that from you.
Well, because one, again, I believe that you're entitled to believe in what you believe in. But also, according to my beliefs, I'm supposed to love everyone. And, I love you for your heart. I love you for your mind. I love you for who you are. And I believe that we were all created by the same God. And I don't believe that he makes mistakes. And he gives us a mind to think and to learn and to grow. And, I do believe that, through that connection, your connection with me, that we will be together in the afterlife. So I don't, again, you're a great person, and it's all love. I don't feel like, well, they're going here and they're going there, which was what we were taught when we were younger. I was terrified.
Right.
I was terrified that it was some of my good friends I wasn't gonna see after I died.
They're gone.
But yeah, they're going down there where it's really hot. But again, when you and I have had that conversation, I feel very confident in knowing that, you're not going nowhere else, because you're a great man of God. I say, oh God, I know how you feel about God, but
you're embarrassed.
You know what we are.
You're embarrassing me. This article in the rawstory.com, like I said, it's long, so I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I'll read part of it. Basically says, in part, that some call those folks nuns, not N-U-Ns, but N-O-N-E-S. Agnostics, atheists, deists, secular humanists, general humanists, and people who just don't care to identify with any religious group. It's not exactly correct to call them non-believers, because some still have faith and spirituality in some sense or another. A 2002 Pew study noted that 30% of these people believe in God or universal spirit, and around 20% even pray every day. But according to the latest research, Americans checking the quote "none of the above" box will make up an increasingly important force in the country. Other groups like born-again evangelicals have grown more percentage-wise, but the nuns have beat them in absolute numbers. What that basically is telling me, Tony, is that Americans have basically decided that aligning themselves with organized religions no longer works for them. I personally, and some folks don't like the analogy, but I'll use it anyway because I don't really care if they don't like it. But like, you go to Sam's Club. You can just go to Walmart if you want to, but you go to Sam's Club. Why? Because you want it direct from the source, right? And that's kind of how religion can be for some folks. You may choose not to be a Muslim or choose not to be a Christian or a Jewish person. You much prefer to go directly to the source of the spirituality and go directly to God or Allah or Jehovah or Yahweh or whatever it is that you call it. Those folks who choose to do it, I mean, I don't personally have a problem with it. As I mentioned before, I've never really felt really comfortable. I mean, when I go to church, I mean, like one thing that I'll be honest with you, and it's, I'm going to kind of go left with it, but one thing that I've always had a problem with is praying to deity that doesn't represent you in the physical sense. And we as black people in this country pray to a long-haired, fair-skinned, bearded Jesus that looks more like Shaggy from Scooby-Doo than Samuel L. Jackson. And more of us look like Samuel L. Jackson than Shaggy from Scooby-Doo. You know, I went to a church recently for a family event, and I won't get into the specifics because I don't want to be disrespectful to anybody, but I looked around, you know, and all I saw on the stained glass was white people. I'm in a black church, a church that's been black for over 100 years, and all I saw was on the stained glass was white people. And no disrespect to my white brothers and sisters, but y'all don't look like us. Now, you'll have some folks that'll say, you know, it's about God. It's about your relationship with God. It shouldn't matter what you look like. But it really does when you look at it socially and you look at it historically. I'm bringing politics or political socialism into a religious conversation. You want to check me or you want to agree with me?
I agree to an extent. But what I was going to say, as far as the shift, you know, of so many people kind of, you know, detaching themselves from organized religion, I just think that we've learned now, I think more so on a larger scale, people are more comfortable with being who they are. Because, you know, like we said, you know, I was forced to go to church every Sunday, and, you know, it's like they were there and everybody was a drone, like you're listening and you're saying amen and you're singing the hymnals. But I think now, because more people are, you know, taking their own lives more seriously and not, you know, living in the dark, you know, their whole entire lives, you know, different issues like homosexuality, you know, just those schools of thought that people have been told for so long that things that we do are wrong, and they have all these rules. Well, you know what? I still believe that there is this higher power, and I don't necessarily feel that that group that, you know, meets at this church on the corner every Sunday totally represents my beliefs. So while I still want to have that relationship, because again, to me, the relationship is huge. You know, I still want to have that relationship, but I don't necessarily agree with all the other things that go on in that organization. So I'm still going to believe, I just choose to believe in a different way and to serve in a different way and not feel like I need to conform. Because when you get to the point where, you know, when it feels like a job, when it feels like you have to explain yourself, why you believe what you believe, why you do what you do, then, you know, to me, maybe you need to rethink what it is that you think you believe. So, yeah, I just think that people are tired of the boxes that we've had to stay in most of our lives.
I agree. Ain't no how to step on Marcus J. Call us at 804-402-2893. If you're listening, you want to be a part of the discussion. If you want to say hey to Miss Tony and Marcus J, call us in, check us out. SY, my co-host, my big sis, she's en route. She'll be here. So if you're looking to listen to her, she'll be here at some point. So we appreciate those folks that are listening to us on TuneIn, as well as listening to our replays on YouTube. Ain't no half stepping with Marcus J. We're going to take a little bit of a turn.